Hello, dear listeners. It's your host and Gamemaster, Brian. I wanted to share some super exciting news with you. When our latest mystery wraps up, we will officially be at the halfway point for our first season of the show. To celebrate, we are hosting a Q&A with the show's cast, and we want to hear from you. Yes, listener, you! So, if there's anything you want to know, from how a specific cast member came up with their character, to how we got into RPGs, or even some of our show's, to date, unsolved mysteries, send us your questions. You can email them to old.seattle.pod@gmail.com, post your question directly on any of our social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or Threads, or even send us a text message via the link on every episode. Don't forget to include your name and anything you'd like us to shout out when you submit your question. We cannot wait to hear from you. Now, I'll let you get back to the episode. Welcome to another episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. When we left our brave investigators, they had just left the Camp Bar at Fremont, where various railway workers were gathering after a long day to share a drink and have a quick meal. Unfortunately, the quick bite that they were hoping for didn't go so well, given that all the food and drink mysteriously filled with bugs. This has led the group to suspect that perhaps there may be something supernatural happening here. They then gathered together and traveled towards the railway construction site, where Jeremy Hobbs' friend Akane Sato had allegedly committed a great deal of property destruction and vandalism. Now, Jeremy doesn't think that's likely, and we'll see what our investigators think as they actually get there. Of course, we've got other more pressing concerns. As they drew close to the site, rather than hearing any sounds of construction, they heard people shouting and arguing, with a tense edge that let them know violence was just moments away. Now, how are the three of you going to be approaching the construction site? Kind of cautiously, boldly?
I certainly wasn't planning on doing anything, certainly wasn't trying to sneak in by any means. I think I'd be going in pretty boldly, unless the others have opinions on that.
I was going to say cautiously, but you're the union boss there, buddy.
I was going to say probably a mix of caution but urgency. If there is something terrible about to happen, or there's a fight breaking out, or something, or if someone's hurt, just want to see what's going on. And
certainly once we hear that, that's going to change my
commotion.
Mm-hmm. But I think my approach was generally going to be just straight in like I own the place, and then certainly change that up as we get a little closer and hearing the commotion. Can we make out at all at this point, like what's going on, or just?
Well, as you're getting closer, what's happening is actually hidden behind some big piles of railway ties and stacks of wood under big canvas tarps. But you can see kind of the edges of a crowd that's milling and brewing.
I'm going to approach, and I'm going to try to get more towards the edge of, going around the railroad ties and all that, and see if I can kind of find somebody towards the perimeter
definitely.
of what's going on here. Maybe somebody who's not actively shouting.
And you can very quickly get a sense on what's happening here. There is a large circle of men and women who are shouting and jeering, and at the center of it is a single figure who's speaking to the crowd. He's a broad-shouldered man with darker skin, short curly hair, and a very close-trimmed beard. He's got some coveralls on, and wrapped around his left arm is a dark red bandana. And he's hopped up on top of a crate so that he can kind of stand out from everybody. As he speaks to the crowd, he really kind of pulls all the attention towards him. He takes a deep breath and then makes a sweeping gesture with his hands. How much more will it take? Y'all are risking not just your bodies here, but working 15-hour shifts, but now you're risking your freedom? One of ours was taken, and we're supposed to just shrug and go back to work? Have any of you heard a single shred of evidence? Crowd kind of starts stirring at this, and you hear a number of angry voices shout, "No! Hell no!" Instead of evidence, all I hear is that I need to get back to work and keep my head down. A man said to me today that what happened isn't my fight. If somebody pushes you right up to the edge of a cliff and then says it's not your fight, then I say it's damn well time to push back. The men who want this work done aren't swinging hammers or laying ties. They're busy harassing honest and hard-working folk. Sounds to me like those men are cowards. At this, you notice a very different reaction from the crowd. Some people are rallying, they're cheering, a lot of folks are clapping, but just as many look very uncomfortable. You see looks going back and forth. A couple of people take even a little bit of a shuffling step back from him, like, ooh, that went a little too far. Calling people cowards is the kind of thing that could get a reaction. However, he seems to continue, trying to nudge the crowd even further. Sounds to me, if honest and hard-working folk aren't willing to push back and fight for an honest day's wage, well then, maybe those folks should go live down in Tacoma.
Burn.
Bringing up Seattle's greatest rival is like throwing a lit cigar into a powder keg. At this point, the crowd erupts. People who are shouting, people who are pushing, people who are jeering. And you spot three very burly-looking guys who step out of the crowd, heading towards this man and looking none too pleased. What are y'all gonna do?
At this point, I'm content to just kind of watch how this unfolds. Or hold on, when you say the three burly men, hold on, I just realized I might have misread that. These are not three burly men who are part of the crowd as far as, yeah.
They're fixers for the,
I think I just picked that up, yeah.
Railroad
Is that what we're getting?
Yeah.
So, you take a quick look. They could definitely be railway workers. They got the shoulders for it. You do spot a number of folks in the crowd do seem to share those red bandanas wrapped around an arm like the speaker does. These three definitely don't. And they are walking towards him with a purpose.
Sofie will definitely intercede in some way if she doesn't see her companions moving forward. Like,
I'll be honest, Lucius isn't here to pick a fight to get in the middle of something, especially if it looks like it's going to be one-sided and if it's not his people. So he's kind of content just to stand there.
Yeah, I don't love letting this go down, but at the same time, I'm more in Lucius's camp on this one. It's like, I don't know what I'm going to do by just throwing myself in the middle of it. Good luck, Sofie.
Is Sofie going to make look at us, scoff, and make a move to go towards the crowd?
Yeah. I mean, this is Sofie we're talking about. There's no way she's just going to let somebody get beat up by a bunch of toughs.
Mm-hmm.
That is not, yeah. So I could do a distraction to diffuse the situation and possibly get the attention of the guys and prevent them from whatever they're going to do. Or I could just walk up and pretend like I know this guy. Not that I know him, but that I have business with him and just sort of ignore what's going on. And I'm pretty sure they're not going to, come and try to beat up a woman to get to him. Or there's always a shotgun in my pocket. I'm kidding. I left the shotgun at home.
I was going to say, you underestimate the gender equality of this world.
Oh, I have a pistol. It's okay.
A revolver.
Yeah, I have the revolver, which takes much of a smaller pocket, so there's more room for books.
The real reason she swapped out the shotgun.
Yeah. So I will try a distraction first.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I have anything on me.
Now, I will throw this out there. To try and diffuse the situation or distract them enough to kind of get them off target, that is going to be an inspiration test.
Oh, no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would have 4 dice, but that's not very good since my friends aren't helping me.
We'll help you when you need it. We're just not going to go storming off in the middle of the fight first.
if we really are wanting to kind of go down that path,
you guys don't have to go with me.
I can go ahead and if I see Sofie suddenly literally roll up her sleeves and is about to open her mouth, I might just elbow her out of the way. Just put an arm in front of her. I can handle this, Sofie. I mean, if you want to do that.
I was going to say, if Sofie starts marching off, Lucius will pull out his flask, take a drink, hand it over to Julian, and then start following after her.
So why don't we go ahead and pick it up with that then?
Okay.
I mean, I'm not trying to force you guys to change what you want to do. I just,
You created the situation where Lucius would act. He's not going to get in the middle of a bunch of workers fighting whether or not they do or don't want to unionize. But if
a friend of his is in the middle.
Yeah, if one of his friends is in danger, he's not going to just stand there and go, well, you shouldn't have done that.
Well, I could also imagine him doing that.
Hey, Lucius, check this out. This is going to be awful.
He'll say that to her later, but he's not going to let,
to a point, but he's not going to let Sofie just possibly get violence done to her or something.
All right, so you kind of stride ahead, and then your 2 companions lag behind a few steps, but eventually, catch up after you.
Okay.
Would one of the 3 of you like to make an inspiration test?
I'm pretty sure Lucius has the best stats on that, yeah?
For starting a fight, yes.
So Julian, as I see Sofie kind of starting to march up, and it looks like she's getting ready to say something, I take a look over to Dr. Jensen and just kind of squint a little at him, kind of nod over to her. This isn't going to go well, is it?
Probably not.
Yeah, okay. And so I will go ahead and approach the 3, kind of trying to push my way through the crowd and kind of intercept on an intercept trajectory on these 3 guys. And I will be all like, "Oh, gentlemen, I think you're going the wrong direction. The bar was back over this way." And I'll go ahead and make that inspiration test.
All right, go for it. This is going to be a tough one.
Does he get any bonus from us?
He can. How does Sofie help with that? Just strike a very threatening pose behind him.
I don't know. Sofie can be pretty intimidating. I mean, she's tall and she's stacked.
She's ready to throw books at you.
Yeah, I mean, Okay, so this has happened before that Sofie...
But Julian has a terrible idea for how to manipulate and influence others? Yes, that has happened before.
Where Sofie puts on her service worker face. Where, she just suddenly...
When you start mean mugging?
Her stance, kind of relaxes and gets more, welcoming. And she...
Oh, so the opposite of mean mugging.
The opposite of mean mugging. So she's... Oh, I didn't want to say brothel face because that sounds disgusting.
Oh, okay. I'm when you said service, I'm just like, wait, you're resting bitch face or?
No. I believe the verbiage of the time would be her seamstress face.
But you can tell, like, she has her regular, personality, and she has this other personality that she puts on in certain situations, like when she's trying to please people or trying to do her version of manipulating people, which she's not actually, in character, not terrible at. In numbers, she is terrible at, but so she just like kind of smiles a little bit and looks almost come hither, but not quite.
Excellent. Is Julian going to be helping at all? Or pardon me, is Lucius going to be helping at all?
We all need Post-its.
He'll be following after Julian and Sofie. He's going to trail a little bit more off towards where the big guys. If they're going to try and intercept, he's going to try and at least get there before they get to Sofie. Lucius thinks Julian can at least handle himself for the moment.
I've been working out.
So kind of just presenting a unified front.
Mm-hmm. But he'll position himself to be better, ready to intercept, I guess, more than trying to back up Julian and Sophie's attempt to inspire here.
Mm-hmm. So Phoenix, take 2 extra dice.
Yeah. Okay. So that'll be 10 dice then. Go ahead and roll. That is 2 success on 10 dice.
Okay. Phoenix, that is not quite going to be enough.
I will push that roll.
Okay.
Are you over 5?
That is 5 success on.
Oh my
total,
God.
Total. So that's an additional 3.
They not only come to the bar, but they propose.
Sorry, gentlemen. Big Bill has already won my heart.
All right. Now, I don't think you have any conditions at the moment, correct?
I mean, I'm about to, but you are correct. I did not up until this point.
Not at that time. I cannot think of anything off the dome to give you as an extra bonus for so thoroughly surpassing it, so you're just going to get a glowing success. You start kind of turning on the charm. Dr. Jensen and Sofie are flanking on either side, doing kind of their part of the routine. You spot one of these big beefy arm guys was literally about to sucker punch this dude, and then he turns and kind of looks at you, and he just sort of forgets about what he was doing.
Yeah, I just kind of look over to him. It's like, there's no need for that, especially in a crowd of this size. And I kind of point to a few of the different red armbands. That's just, we don't need to go there. Why don't you come on over this way? Why don't we go have a drink?
So sure enough, you do the patter for a little bit, and eventually the crowd disperses peaceably.
Great.
Well done. And Sofie didn't have to die.
I am taking the frightened condition. And it is, to be clear, I ain't scared, but I was a little nervous that, they wouldn't be entirely captivated by my charm. That was a little nerve-wracking, but we're good. We're good.
I think like panic attack should be what we call it instead of actually fear or frightened.
But if we've kind of dispersed the crowd and I've gotten them away, I'm assuming this person who was up on the soapbox there, is he still around?
Yep. He hops right down and is kind of making a beeline towards you. Those beefy guys kind of scowl at him, but they sort of slink away. And you hear them mutter to several people like, "Get back to work."
As I see him approaching, I will go ahead and put on a big smile, extend my hand. Quite the performance up there. Quite the oration. What's your name, friend?
I could say the same to you. Name's Henry Johnson.
Of course it is.
Somehow I had a feeling. Oh, well, Henry, good to meet you. We were actually looking for you. Heard about you down over at the bar. They said good friend of Akane's, yeah?
You friends of Akane's as well?
Not directly. To be honest, I've never met her. However, we are represented by certain folks who have a relationship and want to make sure that she's all right.
Well, I can get behind that.
Right. So, is there a place for us where we can go talk?
Yeah. Nothing fancy, but we got some boxes we could sit down on for a few. At least before those guys start trying to round up more folks to get back to work.
Sounds good. All right. Out of character for a moment. Sorry, Hannah. How do we as a group want to approach this? Are we going in with covers again? Are we just going to introduce ourselves as who we are? How do we want to play this?
I'd say we are friends of God damn it.
Jeremy, Matthias, Yurt.
No. The friend of Akane that came to us.
Jeremy.
Jeffrey?
Jeremy.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
That was the first thing I said. And you're like, no.
Oh, then I missed it. My apologies.
I got it on the tape, Bill.
Sorry, I thought she said something else. So
Robert.
No, damn it.
Yeah, I agree. I think that we should. I mean, maybe we shouldn't mention
Just
the
play it straight.
library, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, but just play it straight as far as...
or I mean, more or less that we were hired by her friend to come find out.
But I do think we should tell him that we are posing as union employees for the sake of investigation while we're here. So he doesn't go, oh, you're not so-and-so. I just met you. You're, whatever.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, that's probably a smart idea.
And it's Jeremy Hobbs is his last name? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
Where were we? He had just told us where we could sit down.
He leads you over to a couple of boxes, sits down with y'all. You mention that you are friends of Jeremy's, and through him are trying to help Akane. And at that point, his face kind of lights up. Well, if y'all are friends of Akane's, then I'm glad to have you here. Or at least people who are trying to be on her side.
Yeah, for sure.
Cowards like those group over there. People who are willing to let an innocent person be framed. I cannot tolerate it.
I'm just going to point over to the group. This is just the rail workers? This is just the rest of the group out there?
Well, some of them are more closely company men than others.
Well, so did you happen to see, I mean, what happened with all of this? And can we see the wreckage of what happened on the train?
I could take you over that way.
Oh, okay.
When you see it, you'll know why this is all trumped up charges. Couldn't possibly be true.
Yeah, let's go take a peek.
Now, did I catch before when you said that you're saying you're with the union?
Yeah, just to kind of make things a little easier here, we thought rather than trying to explain ourselves as outside friends, just thought that we'd try to blend in as part of the union here.
Oh, makes sense. Makes sense.
We do support the union, though, just to make that clear.
Well, in that case, one thing you might want to do, and he pulls out a set of red bandanas and offers one up to each of you.
Oh my God. Is this Sofie's soulmate who has cargo overalls but full of red bandanas instead of books?
I clearly saw him pulling this out of a violin case.
How is this not a red flag to any of you?
The three perspectives I would expect from this group. Y'all might want to tie these off on your arms. We're starting to form a movement. Folks with these, calling ourselves the Red Bands.
I'll go ahead and take it. I start tying it on, and I start doing a very elaborate bow with it before I realize what I'm doing, and then undo that and just tie a basic double knot. I nearly had a bow tie on my arm at that point, but
with one hand too. Impressive.
I mean, can't you?
It's not a skill everyone possesses.
Magic hands.
All right. As you walk and talk with Henry, he shares that he's been working with a number of the men to try and slow the work down. And a lot of folks are considering joining a general strike. Roger Burns's favorite lackey is a shovel-faced man who goes by the name Hammer Doug. And he has been disciplining men for working too slowly. although he's been very erratic over the past few days. His goons tend to push people around and start fights with anybody who's talking about a strike. That said, Henry is determined to lead a general strike for Sato's freedom. He doesn't believe that these trumped-up charges will hold, and if they can draw enough attention, the Killborn and the others will have to let her go.
As much as I applaud your reasoning, it seems like it would require quite... I feel that the task you've set yourself is nigh on impossible, because those in power will do anything to remain in power, and if they concede Akane's innocence, it will show them to be fallible, and that's not something they'll do easily or accept.
Well, it's awful easy to ignore me talking. It's going to be a lot harder to ignore all of us talking. If we're all in this together, we can get them to change their minds.
I'm trying to figure out how to best phrase this. I understand the thought around the slowdown, the strike to try and help free your friend Akane. And I realize what I'm about to say probably will sound like the antithesis of everything you are all working for, but have any of you considered what happened to the foreman? Last we heard he was drinking and then they don't know what happened. Wouldn't it be easier to prove her innocence if you knew where he was or what might have happened to him?
If he was located, yes.
I mean, we've looked all up and down the camp. People have looked all up and down Seattle. Maybe he just ran off. Maybe he got drunk and fell in the lake. But that doesn't mean Akane took him.
No, but does anyone know what happened to him that night? Where he was, his whereabouts until he disappeared?
No. Nobody I've been able to get any information from.
I look around. Do I see him?
No.
Okay.
Wait, what about behind that bush over there?
Bill, make a vigilance test.
Oh, boy.
No.
Damn.
You arrive at the area of construction, and there is quite a scene of destruction in front of you. The tracks that were put into the earth have been bent and ripped up. Wooden ties have been completely splintered. Areas of ground have just been torn up, as if someone took a giant shovel through them. Some of the railroad tracks are literally like facing up into the air, having been bent up and around. And Henry mentions, this is one of the other reasons things have been slowing down. The men have definitely been feeling a little disheartened having to redo all the work that they've done.
The charges are that one person did this.
My God, yeah, in one night? How did no one hear this? How did no one see any of this happen?
You see why this is ridiculous.
I'm shocked. I've seen plenty of wanton destruction, but nothing done by one person like this in such a short period of time.
It's just impossible. There's no way. We did take the camera. So...
I put it into the chat so that we don't have to have that. It's fine. It's fine.
That's why we have Hannah. I rhymed. What the fuck does the camera do, Brian? I forgot.
It gives a bonus on investigation tests.
Well, but I mean, it feels like this could also just be
A prop, like to bust out, and yeah.
Well, literally, like, let's take some pictures of this to get evidence.
Exactly. Agreed.
Anyway, wind it back.
Mm-hmm.
Sofie will break out the camera. Even like, okay, she will break out the camera to actually take photos of the damage, but B, she will also try to see if she can like get closer to the damage and see if she can tell anything odd about it that might explain how it happened.
Yeah. give me an investigation test.
Oh boy.
And you get +2 from the camera.
Does my brilliant smile count as a camera flash and it gives her assistance on that?
If you can give me some way that you're helping and not just smiling at her, then yes.
I mean, the reflection off of my teeth should be plenty. No?
Nope.
No.
How much is Sofie secretly taking pictures of big burly men with beards?
No, not unless the beards are
Only
braided.
if they have braids.
Yeah.
No.
If the beards are braided, then there might be a couple in the role, but otherwise, no. That is 3 successes on 12 dice.
All right, so you take several photos of these, and only a couple of men with very nice bearded braids. Wait, reverse that. Braided beards. However, as Sofie is taking some photos, she does notice something inconsistent in the frame of the lens. There's obviously a lot of people coming and going through here. There's a lot of tracks, a lot of traffic. But there is some kind of strange marking on the ground that could have been a large footprint leading off into the woods.
Is this where we get the Sasquatch Vossen?
I won't spoil it. You're just going to have to wait till the point where you can make a learning test to discover that.
Okay. So is it a booted foot? Or we're playing 20 questions. Or is it a bare foot?
It's very, very hard to tell. It looks just like a large imprint. But with all the traffic that's been going through here, you can't be sure.
And you said it looked like it was heading towards the...
into the woods.
I will wait until Henry is a little bit distracted, like he turns around to talk to somebody or something, and I will point that out to my companions. Perhaps at some point we can have a look in the woods hereabouts to see if there's any more evidence of what may have left this mark, but it will have to wait because we can't do it in the middle of all of these workers. Although I suppose we could, because we could just say, we're trying to find clues as to what happened to What's-His-Head, who disappeared, or we're trying to figure out any clues of who could have done this. I mean, we don't have to say it's supernatural. But whatever you guys want to do, we can wait and do it later. Whatever.
Well, if you point out that there's a giant foot leading off into the woods, I'll just talking to Henry. Well, thank you. I think I might have some more questions, but if you don't mind, we can excuse ourselves for just a minute.
Of course.
We'll talk later, okay?
And he gives you a hearty handshake before heading off.
I return with the firmest handshake that I can, and I'm sure it pales to what he is able to produce there. But I'll get a nod to my 2 colleagues and point off to the side. Shall we go see what's going on over there?
Sure. Seems worth checking out.
Hello, dear listener. It's your Gamemaster, Brian. Following strange footprints into a mysterious woods may not always be the best idea, especially when you don't know what's waiting for you. Thankfully, our crew has Sofie with them, who is an encyclopedia of folkloric knowledge. Without her, Julian and Lucius would need the help of another monster expert. Thankfully, if you, dear listener, find yourself wandering in woodlands dark and chasing after mysterious footprints, I know just the person you should be listening to. Erin from the Myth Monsters podcast. Her show features a new creature out of myth and legend each episode, diving into its stories, real-world inspirations, and whether or not she thinks they might have been real. New episodes come out every Thursday. Here's Erin to tell you a bit more about the show.
Hello and welcome to Myth Monsters. I'm Erin, a self-confessed mythology addict and occasionally scholar. Myth Monsters focuses on the monsters of global folklore and mythology, with sometimes a cryptid thrown in once or twice. We go from looking at jackalopes to gorgons to wendigos to Bigfoot, from dwarves to elves, and honestly, everything in between. Why should I listen to this podcast over any other mythology podcast out there? Well, we're only 15 to 20 minutes long, so we're perfect in time for your little commute. And also, we focus on a different culture and monster every single week. A real in-depth look into modern media, where they're found in films, TV, video games, and books, and also the origin, description, and if I believe they existed. So it's perfect for any short trips, or if you're into any specific monsters that you fancy. So come join the fun every Thursday, and stay spooky, babes.
So we will attempt to follow the trajectory of the footstep towards the woods and see if we can find, catch the trail.
Full disclosure, I wasn't expecting y'all to knock out a bunch of 3 success checks on things.
You thought we were going to get into a fight.
Well, I did, and I thought that was going to be most of the session was having, like, a big old fight.
And the man in the back said, everyone attacking it'll turn into a ballroom blitz.
Nerds.
You missed out on a big fun combat encounter. So, the 3 of you kind of discreetly edge around the worksite for a bit and start following after these tracks. As you get a little bit further away, it starts to be a little bit easier to see them once you get out into the woods. And they are large. These tracks are probably about the size of your forearm. And they do look like booted feet.
It's Shaq! Sorry.
It's true. He's a Vasan.
They look like booted feet?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Okay.
And can I get a learning test from one of you?
Wait, as big as our forearm's not that big.
Think of from your elbow to your fist, Bill.
It's NBA sized, okay?
Well, I was going to say, that's just, for me, that'd be like Phoenix's size shoe.
It's true, listeners. You know what they say about guys with big feet. We do wear big shoes.
All right, now, could I get a learning test from one of you? Listener Phoenix is now shaking his head no, desperately whispering, trying to convince someone that he doesn't want to make this roll.
I'm threatening that I will make this roll. But...
No, that's okay. I mean, I was the one who was looking for him in the first place, so.
I was just saying, I was assuming Erin was going to do it. I could help her out if she needs it.
Okay, 2 successes on 9 dice.
Okay. That's enough to navigate and find your way. You are able to follow this trail that is heading generally towards Ballard.
It's the Thin Man, isn't it? Oh my god.
As you are walking through these woods, dark clouds begin to gather overhead. As you're wandering through footpaths and game trails, you see leaves start to jump as droplets of rain strike them, sending a cold chill through you as you step out into a clearing. The burned-out remains of a simple log cabin wait silently in the center of the clearing. The frame remains standing, but the logs are blackened and sections have toppled over. It couldn't have had more than 2 rooms inside, and the roof beams have partially caved in. A small vegetable garden near the cabin has been torn up. Through the rain, you spot an outhouse 30 feet away, closer to the edge of the woods. Near it, a small roofed pen that held goats and chickens has been ripped to pieces. You see several strewn white feathers and the body of a dead goat. The cold rains grow heavier, blotting out any light from the sky above, but thankfully helping mask the smells of fire and rot. What do you do?
Do the footsteps come and go from this place, or do they pass by this place?
From here, you're not really able to see them anymore. You sort of saw a few along the trails and footpaths that were coming to here, but by this point, you've lost the track of them.
The frame still stands. Does it look like it's sized for a very tall person or like a regular person?
Regular person.
So, any guess as to whether the perpetrator lived here or perhaps came by here on his way out and...
let's probably take a closer look at the cabin and see if there's any markings or anything we can try and see that might give us a clue as who's lived here.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, who did met with a potentially terrible end, or did not have a too kind of group come and visit him at some point when he wasn't here.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from the cabin being burnt and the shed for goats and chickens kind of being destroyed, are there any is there any destructive markings kind of similar to what we saw in the train yard, or is there any other kind of things that might stand out?
There is also a garden that was all torn up.
Right. So, but is there deep scarring in the earth, or does it just looks like someone just kind of tore up and then lit? There's not like the house was partially broken into or something. It just looks like it burned.
It looks like it just burned down. Bill, since you asked and you mentioned checking out the cabin, can I get an investigation test from you?
Can I hand him the camera?
Sure.
To take pictures of the damage so we can look over it later.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So feel free to add +2 to your investigation test.
Okay. Well, listeners, that is 9 dice being rolled and 2 successes.
All right. Look at y'all with all your successes suddenly.
Why would you say that? Just...
Because you've been getting too many of them and I need to cut the legs out from under this.
He's an honest GM, folks.
Yeah, it's true. I am who I am. Dr. Jensen's taking some photos, looking over some things, making sure to kind of note the scene. And through the lens of the camera, you're able to spot something interesting. On some of the beams and on some of the timbers that were used for this cabin that have kind of fallen askew, there are some interesting shapes that have been carved into them. They almost look like runes, but in kind of this swirling, whorling pattern.
Can I use a handkerchief or something to try and maybe brush the soot away to try and make a more clear image of them to take a picture?
Yeah, you could definitely do that. Keep in mind it's actively raining at the moment,
okay.
So the soot is pretty baked in at this point.
Okay, but just essentially what I'm trying to do is get a better contrast, and then to get a picture of it, and then I would call likely Sofie over to see if the runes were familiar to her.
Do you have pen and ink or a notebook?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I only have medical equipment and liquor.
And now a camera.
And a hurricane lamp.
It is getting pretty dark with all the rain, so you may actually need that soon. While Dr. Jensen is getting a couple photos, is there anything that Julian wants to do?
This is the part where the nerds do their bit. So, no, he's just kind of ambling around. He'll kind of kick over random little pieces of debris to see if, Roger's hiding under one of them.
Are you doing that over in anywhere in specifics? Like over near the goat or the chicken shed, in the garden, or just in and around the area?
I'm going to say not the goat area because there might be poo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll go ahead and kind of traipse around the garden a little bit.
Okay. Can I get a vigilance test from you?
Sure. Vigilance. That's logic. Awesome. That'll be 4 dice. All right. I have 0 success on 4 dice.
Fantastic. Do you want to push that roll?
Not particularly.
It's so weird. I don't know why not. So Julian is kind of traipsing about the garden, kicking this thing here, kicking that there. There's a bunch of like torn up vegetables, and he kicks a carrot aside. And looking up at him from the dirt is a bloody human face. Can I get a fear test from Julian?
I knew it. I knew I could find Roger. Fear is... I can use empathy for
that's
that?
Logic or empathy.
Yeah.
Yep. But you get no bonuses because you are away from your allies.
All right, so it's just my empathy score.
Mm-hmm.
1 success on 5 dice.
Okay, that's still enough. You manage to kind of control your emotions at this. But you do see a face matted with blood staring up at you from underneath the garden.
I should have been checking over by the goats. It would have just been poo. Sofie! Doctor! I think you might be needed over here. I found a face.
Now,
Oh, gods.
dear listener, Erin just went to get wine and just got back, so she missed one other important thing. Dr. Jensen was also trying to get Sofie's attention, as he was taking photos of the cabin and happened to notice strange runes carved into some of the timbers, almost forming a swirling or whorl-like pattern.
Brian.
Which direction does Sofie head in?
Oh my god, she doesn't even hear Julian.
There's a face! Face! There's a face!
Just hold it, cover it back up if it bothers you. It'll be fine. I'll be there in a minute.
The actual shit!
That has to be the best advice just cover it back up. We'll be fine.
What would Scully do? The truth is out there. We'll just put it back. It's fine. I have things to do.
Just put a box over it, Mulder. I'll busy here.
All right, so Julian is left on his own with a human corpse. Sofie goes rushing over to see what Dr. Jensen has pointed out. And sure enough, carved on some of the timbers that made up this building are what look like runes.
Sofie? Okay, so first of all, looking at the runes, they look familiar to her, I assume, in some way. Like,
And they do not look like any classical runes that she has seen.
so Sofie will look really hard at Dr. Jensen, and she'll just hold up her finger, like, just bear with me for 1 second. And she'll take off her jacket and she'll pull down her shirt sleeve and ask him to look and see if it's the same.
All right, Dr. Jensen, Sofie is suddenly disrobing.
Only a little bit.
Still, for her, a significant amount.
Yes, yes.
For the time, a scandalous amount.
Yeah.
And you see something shocking. Even more so than Sophie's bare shoulder. And also even more so than your abandoned friend Julian hanging out with corpses. All across Sophie's shoulder, running down her arm and running down her back, are runes. They almost have a swirling, whorl-like pattern to them. And they seem to interlock, spreading across her skin in this elaborate pattern. They look like tattoos, but incredibly fresh tattoos that were only done maybe a few weeks or a few months ago, so the ink is still very crisp on the skin.
My good, Dr. Jensen is both kind of, it's a mix of shock, but now curiosity. Do the runes look similar to what kind of he can see on the...
They do. There's a similar structure to them. You can't tell if they're the exact same, but there feels like a very, very similar pattern to them.
So Sofie will let him, like, look for a second and, like, be confused. And then she'll be like, just, never mind this. Just tell me, do they match? Do you see any that match? I always have to look at them in the mirror. I've drawn them before, but not well, and I can't be sure if any of these match what's on the wall.
Do they? Do I recognize any that seem to match?
Make either a vigilance or learning test.
Can I help him because I'm staring at him really hard?
No, but you can make a force test for me.
Okay. Oh boy.
Okay. I will do, I guess, vigilance. He's trying to identify the which of these kind of this foreign script looks to be similar between the two.
Mm-hmm.
I got no successes on 3 dice.
Oh dear. On 6 dice, no successes.
Do either of you want to push those rolls?
God, 3 dice? Alright, I'm gonna push it.
Okay. You don't have to.
Come on.
I mean, she does have to. She's ignoring a face for this.
Yes, I'm ignoring a dead body. There's a corpse, and I don't care. I did get 1 freaking success on 3 dice.
Okay.
I will also push mine. Huh? 1 success on 6 dice.
Okay. So, Dr. Jensen, you are able to pick out a couple of the runes that are the same. Not just similar, but shape for shape, scratch for scratch. It is a perfect match between what is on, like, Sofie's upper bicep and what is on this timber.
Then yeah, I will point out specifically which ones, or like here, this on your shoulder, and I'll take her hand and like point like this is what I see, so to show that they're similar. Since I'm assuming you said that she can't see them normally, she has to use the help of a mirror.
Correct. Sofie, you are freezing. This rain is cutting into bare skin, and it got cold fast. So you avoided the worst of it, but you will still take a condition from pushing the roll.
Yeah. Okay, so she starts to, she like pulls her shirt back up and kind of, she's just staring at the runes and sort of absently like half, pulling her jacket back on. Why here? This makes no sense. What does this have to do with anything? This is just some cabin in the woods. I don't understand. How can this be connected? Dr. Jensen, would you please push that debris over here so that I can stand on it and get a rubbing of this? I need to... Yes.
Yeah, I will try to help move whatever objects are there that she might be able to... I'll check to make sure that they're sturdy first before setting them up.
Shifting anything in the remains of the cabin makes the whole thing kind of shudder a little bit.
Ah, shit. Give me the camera.
I hand her the camera. Actually, I don't. It's more like I hold it out and it's snap.
I definitely snatch it.
And Phoenix, what is Julian doing? You've yelled for Sofie several times, and there has been no response from Team Nerd.
Appreciate that, Brian. Thank you. What do I do? I don't know. My colleagues are clearly enchanted, or I have somehow been inflicted by that same curse that Sofie was under earlier, and that is the only possible explanation here, because how could they not be paying attention to me?
Dr. Jensen, there's some guy shouting outside. Make him go away. I don't like him.
Actually, Dr. Jensen does want to go and examine the corpse. So as soon as Sophie's
Yeah.
kind of done with him, he's
It's
gonna.
fine. I'm taking the pictures. Just go. It's fine.
I mean, I guess, I am, having jumped back from seeing a bloody face in the garden. I've kind of been pacing around in circles for a little bit, trying to figure out what to do. At which point, I just lean up against a fence with my back towards this thing, and not my problem. Not my problem. There is a doctor here. I am going to let the doctor deal with this. If he needs music to autopsy by, I can help him with that. But this is not what I do. This is not what I do. This is not what I do.
Then yeah, if Sofie, it looks like she's preoccupied and doing her thing, Lucius will come outside to see how Julian is faring with a quote-unquote face.
You're just hearing off in the distance, this is not what I do. This is not what I do.
Then yeah, I'll come out. If the face is reburied, I will uncover it and try to. How disturbed is Julian looking by the whole situation?
Pretty disturbed. Like unsettled, I'd say. Not like panicked.
I'm definitely unsettled. People are ignoring me. That doesn't happen. That's very unsettling.
You wouldn't. Can you find me something to help move some of this dirt off the corpse? I need to check to see what happened to this man. This man, male face, female face. Sorry,
Male face.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. Be right back. Gonna go find. This is fine. This is fine. You're fine. I'm gonna go find a shovel, and then you can dig this face out of the ground where it is. Bye. I will leave and see if I can find a shovel around somewhere.
Do we know what Roger Burns looks like?
You have not actually asked anybody.
Fine.
Is he wearing a name tag? Does the face have the words Roger?
No, but this face looks like a Robert to me.
God damn it.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right. Bill, can I also get a fear test from you?
Sure.
Now, I believe you get a bonus to this from one of your talents.
I do. I have my Army Medic talent gives me a +2 to fear test for corpses. So let's see. This is empathy.
Or logic.
Oh, then yes, logic.
You should definitely use empathy, Dr. J.
You have so much of it.
Nuts to that.
I have feelings! Loudly!
Okay, well, with 7 dice, but with 1 penalty, so 6 dice total, I have 1 success.
That is enough. You do not panic at the sight of this corpse. Bill, you, with the help of Julian finding not a shovel, but a couple of broken,
planks of wood.
Yeah, some pieces of fence post.
Yeah.
You're able to kind of unearth this body. He seemed to die from heavy blunt force trauma, mostly around the chest and shoulders.
My goodness. Does it look to be? I guess I would check the body for the postmortem bruises and see if they are more like circular, so it'd be presumably like a fist or something hit it, or if there was more oblong or like line shape, like he was hit with like a bat or a blunt object.
Give me a medicine test.
Okay.
This is weird. It's going to be precision, but it is what it is.
Okay. And fun. And I also have the talent of emergency medicine. I can ignore mental conditions when using medicine.
There you go.
Which is good because I have one.
So just give yourself a modificator of +1 on that.
Okay. Oh, okay. On 5 dice, I have 1 success.
All right. It takes Dr. Jensen a little bit to kind of look, and if he didn't know better, he'd say this man was crushed. There are some definite, like, circular bruises of, like, a strike or two, but it seems much more that, like, something had his torso in its hands and just put a great force on it.
My God.
Dr. Jensen also finds he's not the only one buried here.
Oh, shit.
There are 2 more bodies buried
shit.
in the ground below his.
Julian, he'll get up, kind of brush his hands off. I'm assuming Julian is still kind of like, this is fine. We're okay.
Just watching your back, man. It's fine. I'm gonna watch the other side.
I will walk up to Julian, just kind of square him up. Hey, I'm gonna need your help because I can't move these on my own. I will hand him my flask. You got this.
Move these what?
We're gonna move this body. There's something else underneath it.
Wait, you said these. These implies more than... No.
I thrust the flask in his hand.
No.
Come on.
Oh,
You got this. What else have you been lifting all those weights for, if not to help out something like this?
I'll explain it to you when you're older, but it wasn't this.
We're going to briefly cut away from the pair of you as you're digging up or trying to avoid digging up corpses. Sofie, you kind of step up onto a bit of the debris, trying to get a rubbing of one more rune, and things shift a little bit underneath you, with a little bit of like a shifting and crashing sound. And then from below the roof, you hear very soft weeping, which then goes very quiet.
Can I tell if it's a Vossen or a person?
I don't think there's a roll for that.
Is Yort sneezing?
Yortz doesn't want to come out because it's cold and wet and rainy. Very rainy at the moment.
It's wet and rainy.
It's wet and rainy.
I mean, Sofie ain't scared. She will... Okay, so the condition of this cabin is interior toasted, nothing really remaining, frame standing, roof, at least in places.
Roof collapsed down into interior.
Okay.
But you suspect you could crawl under there.
Oh, no, I couldn't. Oh, God, Aaron could definitely not. No.
A person could crawl under those
Someone
roof timbers.
who is quite nimble and thin, perhaps. Julian, are you done with your dead body?
Actually, that might be better. Sofie has lower core strength, lower center of gravity. She can help pull these bodies out of the ground.
I was actually about to say, which of these 2 options does Julian want less? To go into the mysterious burned out cabin where somebody's crying, or to dig bodies out of the ground?
I don't know, but he went AFK, so we should definitely just volunteer for him.
No, I want to know which one Phoenix wants to do less.
I know.
You should definitely volunteer him for go fuck yourself is what you're going to volunteer him for.
That's the spirit.
I told you I was keeping my headset on. I heard all that.
And I helped.
And I helped.
So, which adventure is Julian choosing?
Choose your own bad adventure.
Yep.
You're saying like Julian is all skinny and lithe. I'll remind you, he's been working out. He's kind of ripped.
But he's like...
He's got lean muscle, let's be
like
fair.
Swole. He's
Lean
like,
muscle.
yeah. He's cut. He's not swole.
It's pretty. You know what? You're right. It's pretty muscle. I can't deny that. It's not functional. It's just pretty. Fuck. I'll just, I look at, crawling underneath this thing, look at my outfit, and then I look over back to Dr. Jensen, who is
half covered in mud.
Who's half covered in mud and corpse dirt and is like, we're digging.
That enthusiastically. It's a little weird.
Okay, so here's the thing. Phoenix the player wants to help. Julian the character is like, fuck both of these options. You want me to do what? I'm sorry, no. Don't you know who I am?
How do I keep getting involved in this? Phoenix, you know what it's time for? Cocoa wine.
I was going to. I was looking at my inventory. So before you even said that, I was looking at my inventory, thinking, "Oh, so this is the part where we're digging up corpses. It's going to really stink. So I should go ahead and take some liquor, rub it under my nose so it doesn't stink so bad." And then I realized I have cocaine, so maybe I should just use that instead.
Oh yeah, just rub some cocoa wine right under your nose. It'll
right
go
under
great.
my nose. It'll be fine.
You definitely won't be worrying about the smells.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't know how cocaine works. Maybe it makes me hypersensitive to smells. It really opens up the sinuses. From what I don't know.
All you need to know is it's a hell of a drug.
It's a hell of a drug.
Okay.
All right, so are either of you or any of you heading into the cabin or helping dig up bodies? Bill, it sounds like you're on bodies.
I'm continuing to dig up bodies.
Dr. Jensen is definitively on bodies.
Mm-hmm.
I will approach the cabin. I ain't crawling in under it, but I will go to the cabin.
You don't listen, can you hear that? It might be, maybe someone is hiding in here from what happened before. There's no way I can reach them. My skirt weighs 150 pounds. I can't.
And I'm hearing
Julian,
crying.
The two of you are able to hear the soft sound of weeping that kind of comes in and goes out.
You start talking about how your dress weighs 150 pounds, and it didn't seem to stop you from taking it off for Dr. J. We'll talk about that later. But I will just listen quietly near the cabin, and hearing the sobbing, hearing the weeping. Hello? Are you okay in there? I don't know what she said to you, but it's going to be all right.
There's no answer.
So there's no answer. Is there any sort of interruption? Does it sound like they stopped trying to listen? Or it's just constant?
It stops as soon as you start talking,
Mm-hmm.
and then quietly picks back up a few moments after.
are there any sniffles or anything?
Some.
Okay. So it still definitely sounds like it could be human, possibly.
Potentially.
So it stops. They seem to be listening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not crawling in underneath that to go investigate random crying noises from a spooky cabin. That's just crazy talk. But I will continue to. It sounds like you can hear me. Is everything okay? My name is Sophia. Can you hear me?
No answer.
No answer. I will. So, okay. In terms of what I'm seeing, so again, obviously this is coming from. It's coming from inside of what am I seeing there? What do I see as far as where it's coming
basically
from?
think of kind of the frame of a log cabin, burned to shit. Clearly, a lot of fire damage.
Yeah.
It had a log roof on the top. That has collapsed down into the cabin. So it's obscuring most of it. It's kind of broken and fallen in. In theory, some of the logs have fallen away. Some of them are a little bit loose. So you can kind of climb under this roof to get into that interior if you wanted to see what was in there crying.
I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I will kind of walk around the ruins of the cabin looking for either just any sign of an alternate way of getting in, or if I can, even better, just see in somewhere through a hole, through a crack in the debris, and see if I can spot anything.
There is tragically no other ways through. It was about a 2-room size cabin, so it wasn't very big. But it does actually strike Julian as a little odd that there's no visibility into this thing. It just seems a little bit unusual to him. Like you would think with the way that a roof might collapse in, you could at least see something somewhere. But there's nothing.
I'm going to grab just a piece of debris, and I'm just going to lightly toss it through the...
Mm-hmm.
Like underneath the potential entrance.
So you kind of circle back to the front of the cabin and then kind of like toss it through that opening?
Just a very light lob. So my intent is I want to see what happens, but I also want to make sure that if there is somebody nearby, I am throwing something small enough and slowly enough that it wouldn't hurt someone.
Mm-hmm. Okay. The crying pauses.
Can you hear me? We'd like to help if... I can hear you sobbing. Is everything all right?
No answer.
That's definitely a Boston in there.
Yeah, this is again the tug of war between Phoenix and Julian. I feel like Julian doesn't want to do it, has no desire to do any of this. I kind of want to find out what the hell is in there, but I just feel like it would be totally out of character for him to be like, yeah, I'm going to go alone into the dark where there's a crying baby noise or a crying person noise.
It doesn't sound like a baby.
Yeah, no, it just sounds like...
It sounds like an adult.
Okay, I just thought of something. So Sofie wrangled Julian to come in here and try to discover...
Because that's what friends do. They help each other when they ask.
I thought you meant friends wrangle.
They wrangle each other. They Huck Finn each other. That's how it works. I never remember. Was it Tom Sawyer or Huck? It was Huck Finn, right?
Tom Sawyer.
No. Really?
Tom Sawyer did the do you want to paint a fence? Yep.
Okay.
That was Tom Sawyer.
Conflate those two in my head. Anyway, having got Julian in there to investigate the source of the noise, she has gone out. She started to go out to help Dr. J, but as she hears Julian, like calling and, whatever, and she can tell that he's not going in there. And for a second, like she's still like preoccupied because the runes and whatever. And she's like, I don't know. I'm just going to go help with these dead bodies. And then it occurs to her that whatever is in the house might know something about the runes.
I was waiting for that.
So she just stops and turns
halfway
around
toward helping Dr. Jensen, and then immediately just like 180s.
Stands there for a second, and then she just turns around and goes back in. And she kind of like manhandles Julian, like shoves him out of the way a little bit. She's like, "It's fine. Go help Dr. Jensen. I'll get it." And she pretty much...
I just spread my arms.
I'll explain to you later, Julian. Maybe just keep watch or something.
Keep watch.
And she will
crawl inside,
very uncomfortably crawl up in the hole.
Sofie, what the hell are you doing?
I have to find out, Julian. I have to know.
You have to know what? Dr. J, come here.
You got to keep watch. Can I get an agility or a force test from Sofie?
Oh, no. Especially with my condition that I am quite chilled and not very happy about that.
You might have had agility.
Sofie doesn't really have agility anymore. She's weighs too much for that.
Take off the skirts.
Now we're getting scandalous.
Oh, maybe she would. Maybe she would take the skirts off to shimmy up in there. Because they're going to get caught on everything and they weigh so much.
It's up to you.
Will that give me an advantage, Brian?
I tell you what. Make your roll and we will let the dice decide.
God damn it.
You're not going to let her skirt the issue?
10 out of 10.
That's a pun. There we go. That's what I was waiting for. Well done, Bill.
Ha! 1 success on 2 dice.
All right, that's all you needed.
So she definitely just practically just rips the skirt off and tries to dive in there. Julian's probably like, again? Me too?
Just disrobing for Dr. Jensen, and now she's crawling into a dark hole half naked. You know what? I don't know she's clearly possessed. Dr. Jensen, I think Sofie might be possessed, which I think I might actually say. That is not table speak. I'm concerned Sofie might be possessed.
I'm not possessed, Julian. Just hold on.
And you do see like a pile of book skirts underneath the doorway, and just some legs like kicking in really quickly.
What the actual hell?
Aaron, beneath this roof, you see the remains of this cabin. Curled up next to what once was a fireplace is a man. He's bedraggled, he has a stubbly beard, and wide, haunted eyes. You also spot, around his leg, is a solid silver ring connected to a chain that's connected to the heavy stone of the blackened fireplace.
Oh.
As soon as he sees you, he puts a hand over his mouth and begins going, shh, 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 be quiet, you can't, don't speak, don't say anything.
Okay. Is this state of events enough for me to try to make a learning test about what kind of Vossen does this? I mean, a silver chain around his ankle?
Not quite yet. Although, what are you thinking? Does Aaron have an idea?
Well, Aaron might have an idea, but Aaron's ADHD has different ideas.
Huzzah!
Like it doesn't have any because it doesn't remember what they were. Hold on. There was something...
Loading.
About, yeah. It's just the little hourglass just going.
He continues to kind of shush at you. You have to be quiet. You have to be quiet, or he'll hear. You have to be quiet.
Okay, so she will, like, very, try to be as stealthy as possible. She's, ditched her skirts, and so she's just in pants and her shirt and her jacket. And she'll crawl over there towards him as quietly as she can and get close-ish to him, not that close, because he looks a little bit nuts. And she will whisper to him, who are you? What's happened to you?
My name is Roger Burns.
Fuck, knew it.
We never should have done it. We never should have burned this house, and we never should have chased off that woman.
Did you anger a witch?
Phoenix, Bill, can I get vigilance tests from you?
Absolutely not. She said the W word.
No.
Yeah, but you didn't hear it. It's inside.
I was whispering.
Yeah, fuck. That'll be 4 dice. All right. It's a failure for me.
Do you want to push it?
No, and in fact, I actually rolled too many dice because I have a mental condition, and that's a learning test. So yeah, no.
I rolled 5 dice, and I did not get a success.
Bill, do you want to push it? You don't have to.
Not particularly. I don't
Excellent.
know. I don't know what I'm being vigilant against.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, okay. You say not to worry about it, then nothing bad is happening at all.
It's never happened. Sofie, he begins to panic, hyperventilating. Phoenix, Bill, you smell something. There's a smell in the air of decay, rot, and mushrooms. And then suddenly, there is a crash as an enormous form lands on top of the cabin. It's hard to see in the dark and the rain, but it must be at least 12 or 13 feet tall. One of its 3 arms grabs the roof and flings it off in a display of terrible strength.
Could I take out the hurricane lantern and try and point it up to see what the hell this is?
Absolutely. You light the hurricane lantern, and there is an enormous form. Creature, shaggy fur all over its body. Thick, heavy hobnail boots on its feet. And 3 arms. 2 coming from one side and 1 coming from the other. It has long ears that hang down about halfway across its torso and are roughly the size of a barn door.
Oh, shit.
I pee myself a little.
I'm going to need fear tests from everybody.
Do I have a +1 because I'm next to...
You and Bill have a +1
Yeah.
because you're next to each other.
Okay.
I'm fine with you bringing out whatever creatures you want, but do not fucking crush me in this building or I will quit this game right now.
Oh no, he flung the roof off.
Which is great.
So,
I'm fine
yep.
with that, actually. Like, yeah, there's a scary monster, but I'm no longer in an enclosed space, so it's great.
Mhm.
I'm good.
I could... is fear empathy, or can I use empathy or logic?
Empathy or logic.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, that is 0 success on 6 dice for me.
Fudge. 5 dice. No successes.
Oh, 2 successes on 6 dice.
Okay. So Sofie has succeeded. Julian and Dr. Jensen will fail unless they want to push this roll.
This seems entirely reasonable to be frightened of, so I am not going to push this roll.
Okay.
Yeah, this caught me. I was trying to pull a body out of the ground. This is catching me completely off guard.
So the 2 of you become terrified. You now either fight, flee, faint, or freeze.
I am going to freeze.
Dr. J?
Except for the small amount of pee running down my leg right now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. The rain will cover it.
Perfect.
I think that upon lighting the lamp and seeing this thing for what it is, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. I don't know if I should be yelling out to try and get Sofie out of the house, or
So frozen as well?
run away. Yeah.
You know, this scene almost makes me want to try to do art again because it sounds so fucking cool. Like, Sofie in there with this bedraggled dude in the ruins of this house, and them 2 standing outside, and Dr. Jensen
This
with
one
the
little
lamp,
lantern.
like trying to illuminate this giant creature. It just sounds so fucking cool.
So it sounds like Dr. Jensen freezes as well. This light just shakily back and forth. This creature looms downwards. Broken teeth from a kind of distended lower jaw. Moss and twigs and rocks all over its body. It scoops up Roger Burns in 2 of its hands, snaps the silver chain, and then leaps away into the dark, leaving Sofie alone in the rain.
Is there any way that in the past 30 to 60 seconds I could have taken a picture of Roger Burns?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
We could say that'll be Sophie's action for this kind of turn of combat, as
Okay.
it were.
Yeah.
Was taking a picture of Roger's, like, panicked face, and then the creature scoops him up and springs off. What does Sofie do? Do you go to check in on your comrades?
Yeah, I mean, now that there's no roof and I'm not constrained anymore, which is great, I will run over to them and... Dr. Jensen? Julian, pull yourselves together. It was a Vossen. I know, we deal with them all the time. Just snap out of it.
Huge, three arm.
It was quite nasty, I will admit that. It was something to behold. I would prefer that I hadn't, but...
And as Sofie struggles to get her comrades back, shaking them, trying to get them lucid again, she feels the rain lighten and looks up and is able to see the cloud drifting off, following after the creature. But we'll get to what that is next time.
Damn! Man, this episode was some shit.
Y'all did some things in some orders I wasn't expecting. Alright, good night, everybody. And we'll see you again next time.
Good night.
Ah!
Thank you for listening to this episode of Spirits and Monsters of Old Seattle. Our theme song is Myths and Legends by Robert Bruckmeyer, which is playing right now. Our music is by Andreas Lundström, and you can hear more of his work on the Sweden Rolls podcast. Link in the show notes. Our editor is Hannah Cheney. If you're enjoying this show, please take 2 minutes to rate and leave a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get podcasts. I know every podcast says it, but it really does make a difference and helps us continue to grow the show. Finally, remember the motto of the library. Fear gives way to knowledge. Knowledge gives way to wisdom. And wisdom gives way to the truth. Until next time.